is HexRay Vision coming to you live from the west wing of the Beast's Castle at Rags to Riches' house. This is where they keep the rose that Belle has to get a hold of at the end, if you have seen that. Sorry, spoiler alert. Anyways, this is sponsored by the Texan token, obviously, since we're chilling with Rags.
Oh, this is cool. Go check that out.
Yes.
There we go. This is Streamception going on here. But we've got two very special guests that everyone's been going crazy about. We have half of Axis's army in the chat already.
And then my favorite coin that I've been talking about lately has been Communist. I think Communist is a sleeper. When you're looking at all the derivatives for Hex, it's like the most under. I know it's hard to say because of how down Hedron and Icosa were relative to Hex, but yeah, Com was worse. So you'd have to, in order to become like a whale in Com right now, you need to buy 1% of the supply. But to get that percent of supply, you're paying like $40,000 to $45,000. Like I think it was like 41,000 last I checked. And that moves fast because it's ranging inside of like a 250% window. So like the volatility is just absolutely insane on Com right now, because the way that the inflation works for Com is you'd have to stake 32 million hex for 15 years to get 1% of the supply back from the start bonus. So you lock up 3,000 T-shares, you get 1,000 T-shares worth of Com now. And the other 2,000 T-shares worth of Com plus an additional 1,000, the other 75% of the Com reward gets actually pushed out 15 years. So you have to stake away 500 grand of hex for 15 years to get 1%, to inflate the supply by 1%. And I think it's what it's going to do is it's just going to lead to this phenomenon where more and more hex gets staked up to chase that as the Com price goes higher, because as the Com price goes higher, you're getting more value back from staking long. And the way it's set up right now, there's 25 wallets that have 55% of the entire supply. And those guys don't seem, based on the chain analysis, like they want to sell their whale positions. It seems like, if anything, they're accumulating more and strengthening the LP pools. So what I could see happening here is like these 25 top wallets, they just corner the market and they get 80, 90% of the Com supply, and then they mark the price up 50 to 100x, which incentivizes people to buy hex, stake it long, get the Com value back. And if that Com value gets high enough, you can start getting back like 10% of a stake's value, 20% of a stake's value. Even imagine one day you're getting like 25% of a stake's value back, and you go and you stake, 500 grand out for 15 years, but you're getting like $100,000 or $125,000 back in Com rewards immediately from the start bonus. Like, people are really letting Com go under the radar, and I'm just telling people now that chart is no joke, and that thing has a lot of potential because of these different circumstances in the tokenomics.
Awesome. For Snake say, what do you guys think about the statement, eHex must pump back to pre-Pulse launch before Pulse Chain can ever drop a zero?
Well, we just dropped a 0 on Pulse, and in terms of the ratio, eHex is still where it was before the first pump, the Alex Whale pump. If you guys remember, this whale pumped the price 3x in a week, and somehow the ratio of eHex came all the way back down to the bottom of the channel, and here we are. eHex is like just under shy of a penny, but Pulse ran up and knocked a 0 off. It actually went up from like 4 zeros and a 4 at the lows, or it was a little bit less, all the way up to like 3 zeros and a 1.5. What is that? 4, 8, 12. It's like a 3.5x. From seeing Ecom do, I think it was a 3x, right? So Ecom started it with a 3x, and then in the preceding 80 days, Pulse did a 3x to chase. So your theory might be right that you could see, Ecom just rips, and that value then is lent to the Pulse chain. That's definitely a possibility because the ratio of both the hexes is really come down quite a bit in pulse terms. So it's one way this can play out. You can't ignore what PulseX and Ink are doing either now, because Hex and eHex have been unfavorable for the last like 90 days in terms of the ratio trade, but PulseX and Ink became the new hot commodity. So the good news is that there's always going to be a cheap RH token somewhere during different periods of time, and yeah, you just assume that money will rotate into the cheapest one first, and then everything will pump off the back of that initial move of liquidity. And so long as there's more money being injected into the system through the bridge, and the valuation is flowing around in a circuit, like a loop, more and more value will accrue, and all these valuations can go up on the pulse chain every time attention shifts toward the best ratio. So yeah, definitely could see that as a possibility.
A lot of people have been watching big wallets moving and positioning money that they believe is coming over large amounts of DAI, large amounts of ETH. Have you guys been keeping your eye on what you guys think is going to get ready to bridge?
G3 always talks about a lot of these OTC moves in Bitcoin and what have you, and taking a good eye at, there you go, weekend at Bernie's, huh? All that activity that's going on in the backgrounds that we know is coming. And so much of this is, there are some huge whale moves, and there's no doubt about what the Pulse chain is about to become. And it's people just waiting for that position, that confirmation that it's time to go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm specifically to big whale moves getting prepped to come across the bridge. Not too much to say publicly, but like just more keep an eye on the bridge, because you'll be able to see the net inflows, and it might mean something bigger is happening. A lot of the value that got bridged in is sitting in the stability pools. It's sitting in the LP pools in different varieties of like stable versus stable. So it like protects the system and grows it in value. There's a lot of money to be made pairing stable coins against each other, just